Good morning, my dear students. In this class we are going to deal with wave optics. Okay, as I told you earlier, optics has been divided into two parts. One was ray optics, which we have covered, and in the next part we are going to deal with wave optics. That means it treats light as a wave instead of a ray. Okay, so all the phenomena which comprises of the wave nature of light, okay, the phenomena occurring, shown by light, okay, as a wave will be discussed in this section. Okay, first, before we start with, you have to know certain terms related to light as a wave. The first term is wave front. All right. Now, wave front is a continuous locus. Locus means a path. Okay, continuous locus of all the particles of a medium which are vibrating in the same phase. Now, since light has been treated as a wave, there are various particles which are oscillating or vibrating, okay, and all the particles are vibrating at the same phase. If you join the location of the particles vibrating at the same phase, you will be getting something called wavefront. For example, suppose you have a point source of light, okay, it radiates light in all directions, okay, this is the wave. Now, particle here, here, they are vibrating at the same phase, and particles here, like here, they are all vibrating with the same phase. Now, if you join this one, that means the particles vibrating at this phase, this is one wavefront, and the other one, if you join the other set of particles, you will be getting another locus. So this is wavefront number 1 and this is wavefront number 2. So that is the meaning of wavefront. Okay, since it looks like a flower, let me make it clear. I'll draw the wave like this. This is particle, one particle, another particle. These three particles are vibrating at the same phase. Now you join these particles, this is one wavefront. Now here another particle is vibrating here in the same phase, one more particle. If you join these two, then you are getting another wavefront. Alright, so that is the meaning of wavefront. Now depending on the nature of the source of light, wavefront can be categorized into three categories. One is spherical wavefront. When do we have a spherical wavefront? When the source of light is a point source, as I have demonstrated earlier. When the source of light is a point source, the wavefront is a sphere with the center at the source. Okay, likewise we have cylindrical wavefront. If you have a source of light which is linear, like a slit, okay, you have a slit, alright, and if you draw the wavefront looks like this. Okay, so this is cylindrical wavefront. Alright, and likewise we have the third type of wavefront, that is a plane wavefront. Now plane wavefront is not specific to a particular type of source. It is seen only when the source of light is at a very large distance. Suppose you have a point source, the wave will be radiated like this. Now when you go very far, and if you draw the locus of the particle vibrating at the same phase, you will get a wavefront that is plane. Okay, likewise for your linear source of light also at a very far distance, you will be getting a plane wavefront. Alright, so that is all about wavefront. Now we will move on to a principle that was stated by a scientist called Huygens. Okay, he gave a hypothesis for the geometrical construction of the position of a common wavefront at every instant during the propagation of waves in a medium. So if a wave is propagating in a medium, if you want to construct a wavefront in the medium, okay, what are the rules to be followed, or what are the statements to be kept in mind? All right, the first statement, there are three statements here. The first statement is that every point on a given wavefront, that is called the primary wavefront, acts as a fresh source of a new disturbance called the secondary wavelets, which travel in all directions with the velocity of light in the medium. Now I'll be showing it with the help of a diagram. Suppose you have a wavefront, this is called the primary wavefront. Now take any 3 points on the wavefront. Now these 3 points, that all other points including these 3 points act as a fresh source of disturbance. That means if you draw a sphere with the radius equal to the distance traveled by light in that time, suppose you have time t, okay, and the velocity of light is c in that medium, then the distance traveled will be equal to velocity into time. So you need to draw a sphere with radius is equal to distance, that is equal to c into t, okay. Now how to draw the secondary wavefront? Okay, you take 3 points, draw tangent to the secondary wavelets. These are called the secondary wavelets, okay, and take the points on the secondary wavelets and draw tangent, join all the points together, you will be getting a secondary wavefront. So this is the primary wavefront, okay. Every point on which we have a source of a new disturbance. This disturbance is called secondary wavelet, okay, tangent to which we get something called secondary wavefront. In all direction means you can take on this direction also, join the 3 points, draw tangent. So this happens to be another secondary wavefront, okay. Now the second statement, a surface touching these secondary wavelets tangentially in the forward direction at any instant, as I have done here, a surface touching the tangent at any instant gives the new wavefront at that instant. This is called the secondary wavefront, okay. So at instant t, the secondary wavefront is here. Suppose you want to take a longer time interval, then your radius will be bigger, alright. So here radius will be bigger, then you draw tangent, then you will get another wavefront after say time t2, alright. And thirdly, rays are always normal or perpendicular to the wavefront, okay. So these 3 statements have to be kept in your mind as we proceed further to prove the laws of reflection and refraction based on wave theory, okay. We have done in ray optics the laws of reflection and refraction. The statements are, if you take reflection, the incident ray, the normal and the reflected ray at the point of incidence lie on the same plane. Same thing has to be proved taking light as a wave, okay. And the second law is that angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection, okay. So now first we are going to prove the law of reflection based on Huygens principle or wave theory. So let's begin with the law of reflection based on wave theory. Law of reflection based on Huygens principle, which will be asked in ISC, or you can also say that it is based on wave theory, okay. Now we will draw a very simple diagram which will help you to prove it geometrically. So let us take a mirror, plain mirror with polishing on this side. Name of the mirror is M1, M2. Alright, then we just take 2 rays, ray number 1 and ray number 2, okay, and perpendicular to these rays we have the wavefront. The name of the wavefront will be AB, alright, and you can draw normal here with respect to the rays. This will be angle of incidence, alright, and with respect to the wavefront, angle of incidence will be defined as the angle between the wavefront and the reflecting surface, because reflecting surface and normal are perpendicular to each other. So for the wavefront, angle of incidence is here, okay. Now let's make it perpendicular now. Now the ray will be reflected. This is reflected ray number 1, alright, and reflected ray number 2. Okay, so here also we can draw the angle of refraction. Now to construct the reflected wavefront, what we do is, from the point B, this will cover a distance of c into t. That means this point is A dash, okay. So BA dash is equal to c into t, alright. Now to construct the secondary wavefront, not secondary wavefront, the reflected wavefront, what we do is, Since AB is the wavefront and every point on AB acts as a source of secondary disturbance, so here we take the point B, okay, and from B we take the distance C into T, okay, and draw an arc, okay, and another arc can be drawn here, and when you join this two arcs tangentially, then you will be getting the reflected wavefront, okay. So the A dash, B dash is the reflected wavefront and AB is the incident wavefront, and here angle of reflection is equal to R. Alright. Now let's proceed to prove this law of reflection based on this diagram. Okay. We need to prove that angle I here is equal to angle R. You need to prove it. Okay, that will prove the first law of reflection. Now you take two triangles A dash B, okay, and A triangle A dash B dash, okay. Take A dash B and A dash B dash, these two triangles, as you can see. We will first prove that they are congruent, okay, and if two triangles are congruent, their sides will be equal, okay. Because their sides will be equal, we will prove that they are congruent, and later, since they are congruent, we will conclude that this angle I is equal to angle R, okay. So what happens in these two triangles? AA dash is common, you can see it, that means the length of these two lines are equal. Alright, then BA dash, this distance, because it has travelled a distance equal to C into T, so I can write A dash is common. First point, we need to prove three properties to prove that two triangles are congruent. So the first property, A dash is common. Second one, that BA dash, that is the distance travelled by the ray from B to A, is equal to C into T, which is equal to AB dash. When we were constructing the reflected wavefront, we had taken the distance to be C into T, the radius, and we had drawn the arc, so that is also equal. And thirdly, angle B, it is the angle between the wavefront and the ray, and here also angle between the wavefront and the ray. So third point, angle B is equal to angle B dash, that is equal to 90 degree, because ray and wavefront are perpendicular to each other. Now three common features, so we can conclude that these two triangles are congruent, and if these two triangles are congruent, naturally this angle has to be equal to this angle. Alright, so we can prove that we have proved that angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. This is the first law of reflection, okay, proved. And the second law states that the incident ray, the reflected ray and the normal all lie on the same plane. How can it be proved? We will start with the wavefront, incident wavefront, okay, reflected wavefront and the reflecting surface, since they are perpendicular to the plane of the paper, and if they are perpendicular to the plane of the paper, then the perpendicular lines to them, that is the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal will be perpendicular to it, that is perpendicular to the, it is, they are all lying on the plane of the paper. So wavefront and the mirror are lying perpendicular to the plane of the paper, corresponding to which the rays and the normals are lying on the plane of the paper, which proves the second law of reflection. Okay. Similarly, we will proceed to prove the law of refraction on the basis of wave theory. Okay. So let's begin now. Law of refraction. The first law is also called Snell's law. So law of refraction based on wave theory. So here we don't take a reflecting surface, we take a refracting surface. That means a surface which separates two media of different optical densities or different refractive indices. Alright. This is the incident ray. Alright. Another ray incident on it. Okay, now we will draw the incident wavefront, which will be just perpendicular to them. Name of the incident wavefront is A, B. Alright, now they will refract like this. Alright, now from B we can draw a secondary wavelet. From A also we can draw a secondary wavelet. Here the distance will be C1 into T, where C1 is the velocity of light in the first medium. Okay, and here the radius of the arc that you have drawn will be C2. This distance will be equal to C2 into T, where C2 is the velocity of light in the second medium, and it has got a refractive index equal to mu. Alright, now when you join these two tangents, when you join these two arcs through a tangent, you will be getting a secondary wavefront, that is nothing but a refracted wavefront. Here this is A dash, okay, and this is named as B dash. Okay, angle of incidence here is I. Here R is the angle of refraction for the ray, okay, and for the wavefront this is the angle of refraction and this is the angle of incidence. Here we need not prove that I is equal to R because they are never equal. Okay, so what we are going to prove is that ratio of the sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction is a constant that is equal to mu. Alright, so we need to prove it in order to prove Snell's law. Okay, so how do we proceed now? We will start with the definition of refractive index, that is equal to mu is equal to speed of light in the first medium divided by speed of light in the second medium. Leave it for now. Okay, now we will take the two triangles, this triangle and this triangle, that is in triangle A dash B. Okay, we will take sine of the angle of incidence from this triangle. Sine of I is equal to, sine is equal to perpendicular by hypotenuse. Perpendicular is BA dash, because this angle is 90 degree, BA dash divided by, this is the longest side, so hypotenuse is A dash. Similarly, in triangle A dash B dash, sine R will be equal to, from here sine R will be equal to AB dash, this is the perpendicular, AB dash divided by, again the longest side is the hypotenuse, so it is AA dash. Okay, now we need to apply this in the definition of mu. So mu is equal to sine I by sine R. Sine I is BA dash by AA dash divided by, so I'll just take the multiplication straight away, into AA dash by AA dash by AB dash. Okay, we can cancel it. So mu happens to be equal to BA dash divided by AB dash. Okay, now let me write it. Mu is equal to C1 by C2. Okay, now what is BA dash? Mu is equal to, what is BA dash? BA dash is the distance, that is equal to C1 into T. And what is AB dash? AB dash is this distance, that is equal to C2 into T. Since we have taken the same time interval, T will be cancelled, so mu will be equal to C1 by C2, which was actually sine I divided by sine R. Okay, so sine I by sine R can be written as C1 by C2, which from this expression is equal to mu. So we can conclude that sine I by sine R is equal to mu. This proves Snell's law. Okay, that is the first law of refraction. Coming to the second law, like in the previous case, we can state that the incident ray, the normal and the refracted ray at the point of incidence lie on the same plane, that is the plane of the paper, because the wave fronts are lying perpendicular to the plane of the paper. The rays will be lying on the plane of the paper. This is the second law of refraction. That is all for today's class. Thank you for your attention.